Hi folks, this is All the Fruit, and today I want to show you how to properly eat the cactus fruit which have cropped up in German supermarkets in the last couple years. Well, there was a time when we had a lot less exotic fruit. I remember around 2000 I would still bring stuff like chirimoyas, mangoes, and even kakis from Spain. Not that we did not have them here, but we did not have a lot. They were expensive and the quality was bad. And also, there was a time when you could find cactus fruit only on rare occasions in Turkish supermarkets in Germany. But in the last couple years, mainstream supermarkets like Lidl and Aldi have started selling them. And yeah, cactus fruit are now a thing in Germany. So, the cactus fruit you will get in Germany will usually be the good old Opuntia ficus-indica. I've seen Opuntia delaney being sold in Spain. We also have, even in Germany, dragon fruit, which is a cactus fruit, although most people don't even know this. But the stuff that crops up in late summer, early autumn in the standard supermarkets is Opuntia ficus-indica. Well, cacti have spines and thorns too. The fruit, they don't have thorns, but they have those little spines called glockets, which are even nastier than thorns, because a thorn in a cactus is usually quite big and you can see it, but those countless little spines, if you try to harvest those in the wild, you'll get your hands full of little spines. I'm planning to do a series on how to harvest and process cactus fruit in the wild, but I wanted to do this in the Canary Islands last year, but it was so dry that I couldn't find enough cactus fruit for proper videos. Well, when you get them from the supermarket, it's much easier because, well, usually they will choose some slightly less spiny variety, but also they will handle them, they will transport them, and those little spines, those glockets, they will fall off. At least most of them will fall off. The glockets are attached to those black spots, black bumps called the areoles, and you can see almost no glockets. I think I saw one or two on this plant. Well, when you buy them in those plastic cardboard packaging, Germans love packaging, they package all the fruit. Yeah, they're already in plastic, but this plastic has holes for breathing because cacti don't like moisture too much. And even on the lower side here, on the underside, there is a manual on how to peel them. Well, even if they're in plastic, put them in another plastic bag in the supermarket. I really hate to use too many plastic bags. I avoid them whenever I can, and I reuse them whenever I can. Another tip, don't reuse the plastic bag from the cacti. Basically, reuse it to put the cactus peels in there and then get rid of it as fast as possible, because the little glockets, they are everywhere. Yeah, I can see a few stuck on this packaging, and so I will have to wipe with the wet cloth all around the table and stuff, because I put this plastic cardboard in here. Well, after you come home and take them out of the plastic bag, don't transport them together with other stuff. When I'm on my bike, I put the bike with the cactus fruit on the bike handle. When I'm walking, I'm carrying it in my hand. When you're in your car, well, maybe put this thing in a plastic bag and then put the plastic bag in a cardboard box from the supermarket. When you come home, don't put them anywhere where you are touching with your bare hands or bare feet or bare whatever. And get rid of everything as fast as possible. Definitely do wash the cactus fruit to get rid of the remaining glockets. Well, don't scrub them with your hands. Just wash them and rinse the water. Well, after you pour the water into the sink, rinse the sink thoroughly to remove any glockets. So right now, those are Opuntia ficus-indica fruit from the supermarket. I've brought them home in a plastic bag. I washed them thoroughly. What do we do now? Well, the manual says how to open them. Don't be afraid, you don't need a machete to cut them. A knife and a fork are basically enough. Well, since I still have no stand for my phone, and I tried to do it in different ways, well, I will try to show you first how to do it with a knife and a fork, and then I'll show you how to do it just with a knife and without a fork. Off. I hope this is gonna work. Okay, stay like that. One important thing is the color of the cactus fruit. When my son was 1 year old, he said, "Daddy, I want only the white ones." If you look at the cactus fruit, some of the ones which have been picked will be bright red, bright yellow, bright orange. Those are usually completely ripe. If they're even slightly wrinkled, don't buy them. Even if they are not slightly wrinkled, completely ripe cactus fruit tastes kind of boring. Then some will be very green. This one is almost too green, but I bought a package with a lot of different colors to demonstrate it to you. I guess that this one will not be tasty either. This one has almost the right color. This side is a little bit too green. The other one is a pale yellow, which my son called white. But it's a very small fruit. And often the thickness of the cactus rind depends more on genetics. So if you have big fruit and small fruit from the same plant, you will get more value for money in the big fruit. Well, this one still shows some green and some red. I think this is a little bit past its prime, especially since it's been bruised at a couple spots, but I think this would be quite good. But I guess that this one is perfect. Look at it. A plump, pale yellowish, greenish fruit, perfect ripeness, perfect plumpness. I think this will be quite good. This one here, maybe also a little bit too underripe. Let's start with the underripe fruit. Okay, and when you touch your sleeves, you might end up with some glockets in your sleeves. Okay, I am left-handed, but I think the stuff with knife and fork, I'm doing it with the proper hand. So basically, stick the fork here near the spot where the cactus fruit was attached to the cactus. And then cut that off. What you eat in the cactus is basically not the rind, but the seeds. And what you actually want is the pulp around the seeds. Here, I cut a little bit too far away from the attachment point. I could have cut 2 or 3 millimeters further to the left, because here, as you see, there is still a bit of edible stuff. Sometimes it looks like you're losing a lot of edible stuff, but actually no. Let me remove everything. It's not more than a little forkful. Tastes quite okay, but no sweetness in this one. Strange. Okay, then you stick your fork more or less into the middle of the cactus fruit and remove. Okay, let's do it properly. Stick it properly and remove the top part. Well, here I also removed a little bit, but well, it looked like I removed quite a lot of area with little seeds, but actually I removed just 4 seeds with the surrounding flesh. Okay, then you remove those 2 little parts. Actually, you don't need to fiddle with them. There is a very small amount of flesh in there. Then you put the remaining cylinder in the vertical state, stick the fork from the top, and then there are different ways. You could cut away all the peel in in stripes, or you could just cut down the peel or the rind and then peel it away with the knife. Well, what often happens in that case is that you have a couple seeds attached to the peel. Don't worry, we are gonna salvage those. Oops. See now the central cylinder fell apart. That's something that shouldn't happen. And yeah. So, now I removed the central cylinder. This is the edible part. The seeds surrounded with the pulp. Could be a little bit sweeter and a little bit juicier. I guess because this was still quite, well, a bit underripe. Okay. Now, let's get to the next fruit. Oops. A big one which had probably almost the perfect ripeness, but then got bruised. Now, I stick the fork here in the middle. I remove the top part. No, this time I removed a little bit too little. See? There are still remnants of the rind on the side I want to use. So I remove literally 1.5 millimeters. And look, here you might think I've already removed too much because you see the edible pulp, but the difference between too little and too much can often be less than 1.5 millimeters. So you have to figure it out. Okay, then the bottom part. Then I cut down in the middle. Start peeling it. Oh, again I'm losing some edible pulp. Okay, let's try this. It's fully ripe, which is actually a little bit overripe for eating it. It's bruised, I can taste it. Part of the pulp is oxidized. It's a little bit past its prime, but it's not rotten or disgusting or anything. I just know that picked maybe a week earlier and not bruised when picked, it would be slightly tastier. Well, as you can see, I don't like fiddling around with knife and fork a lot. When you handle those cactus fruit, there is a good chance you get 1 or 2 glockets, but if you do it wrong or collect them in the wild, hello, I'm here by the way, there is a good chance you'll get 1 or 200 glockets in your fingers. Now let's try the fruit, which I think is perfect. What I do is I grab them in my hands, I cut off the bottom, should have cut off maybe 0.5 millimeter more, cut off the top. This was perfect. Look, it's basically the outer surface of the pulp. So this here I cut perfectly. This basically also. I cut off. No, I didn't cut anything. So here it looks like I cut off a couple seeds, but no, I got it perfectly. That's the reason I like to peel them like that. Then I cut into the rind. I'm careful just to cut the 2 or 3 millimeters, which is the thickness of the rind. Here I cut too deep, that's why the central pulp cylinder basically disintegrated. Then I'm taking the rind and peeling it off. And voila! I'm getting 100% of the edible stuff without any mess. I cut perfectly everywhere, although at first I thought I hadn't. But there is a slightly bigger chance that I'll have a couple glockets in my fingers. Yeah, this is good. Still a little bit dry. Well, those things come from... Where do they come from? Well, they come from Sicily. Well, the Mediterranean summer is quite a hot and dry one, and this year maybe hotter and drier than normal because the cactus fruit are slightly dry, just slightly. Now let's try one which I think is really underripe. Here again, cut off one side perfectly, the surface of the pulp. This is not the rind, this is not the inside of the pulp, this is the surface. Same thing. That's why I like to hold them in my hand instead of with a fork. But you can only do this when you have thoroughly removed the spines. Remember, folks, you will usually get a couple of those tiny spines into your hands. But there is a difference if getting 2 or 3 or 2 or 300. Look, a perfect pulp cylinder. Here there is some stuff which technically probably still belongs to the rind, but is perfectly edible. Yeah, lacks a bit of sweetness, but at least it's juicy. This one, picking it a week later would have been better, but of course, those folks want to be efficient, so they pick everything which is more or less ripe. Well, let's do the other two. 1, 2, perfect placement. Here already the rind did peel a little bit, so the rest getting the cylinder out in one go. By the way, I learned in Malta that salt water is better for washing them than sweet water. This one is quite good. Okay, the last and also the least, at least size-wise. Oh yeah, still quite tough. Not perfectly ripe, for sure. But I think it's ripe enough to enjoy it. Almost no sweetness. Well, folks, once you have finished, take all that stuff, put it in the plastic bag you used to bring it from the supermarket, then put this plastic bag in your normal trash bag, and then wipe all surfaces and wash thoroughly everything you use. Don't wash it with a sponge, or you will not be able to use the sponge later if it has glockets. Wash everything thoroughly, wash the sink thoroughly. Then, when you feel the slight glockets, often you feel them only hours or even days later, take some little tweezers or pincette, maybe those you use to pluck your eyebrows or the ones you find on Swiss officers' pocket knives, and you can use them to pull out the little glockets. I don't feel a single glocket in my skin now, but experience teaches me that usually I will have 1 or 2. I hope I was able to take away... Sorry for not seeing my face. Okay, so... come on. I hope I was able to remove your fear of cactus fruit. And yeah, that you will all run to the next shop and buy and try some cactus fruit. Until then, or until the next video, stay tuned. Oh god, I got so confused. Okay, whatever. This was the cactus fruit, Opuntia ficus-indica. Go to the shop, buy it, eat it, and don't blame me when you get your hands full of spines. Apart from that, stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from the beautiful supermarkets of Germany. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.